this never was supposed to happen. I started this diet about a month ago, and I'm making this video to simply share my personal experience with it, because it absolutely, the results blew my mind, still blown my mind is so far. And I'm sharing these results, and whatever you want to do with it, take it for what it's worth. That is my observation. I've been playing with diet and nutrition for about the better part of 2 decades now, and this is my journey. So, starting, I'm 31 years old, starting back at, this was never supposed to happen. I've played with my diet for the better part of 2 decades, and the past month absolutely blew my mind. The results blew my mind. I'm making this video because my mind is blown. I want to share the results. This is my personal experience. This is my observation. I've done a lot of diets, and I'm an all-in guy. When I do it, I go all the way to see the actual results. And this is my observation. Whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. This is just my anecdote, my story. Let me take you through my nutritional journey. Every 90s kid had sodas, so like sugar, Coke, Pepsi, all of that in his household. We were not an exception. Tons of bread, processed bread, and tons of cereals. So extremely, high grain diet and high carb diet, and all of the bad sources of carbs. So this is not a sad story about my childhood, not being able to provide myself with nutrition. No, this is every 90s kid, average household, maybe except a 1% of the population who somehow knew back then and were conscious about how you should eat and what eating healthy looks like. This is every 90s kid story. I became more aware of my body, and as I became more socially aware at the age of 14, I would say, you go to high school and you start wanting to date girls and so on. Anyway, I didn't like how I appeared in the mirror. I was kind of chubby face, chubby stomach. I was always small. Mind you, I'm 5'7", that's 170 centimeters. I was chubby. I started to do ab crunches, lots of push-ups in my room. I had a calendar, so I wrote how many I did. And I started tracking my diet, some sort of, not like calorie counting, but I tracked what I ate. Okay, and purposefully eating less. Okay, in my household, as a 14-year-old kid, I made a switch to the whole household. My mom and my sister, this is the full household. My parents are divorced from a very young age. I shifted them from white sugar to sweetener, from white bread and white pita to whole grain, which back then was the shit. If you're doing whole grains, that's health. And I switched them from soda to diet soda. So diet Coke, zero eventually, Coke came with zero, anyway. Lost some weight, I had some visible abs, started skating. That's a ton of cardio. I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 hours of skating every day after school. I was extremely skinny. So this is for the remainder of high school up to the army, the military service. Extremely skinny, I'm talking about 55 kilograms for a 5'7", 170 centimeters short guy. That's like BMI 17. I was BMI 17 in high school. I remember in biology class when they introduced us to the BMI scale, okay? Anyway, and I was very happy about that, because at that stage it didn't happen in a coincidence. I was making intentional nutritional changes. Okay, in the army I was getting into strength training, so I was getting into protein. whey protein, which back then felt like taking steroids, and I had to ask permission to take whey protein. That's how scared I was. I wasn't young, I'm talking about 1920. Nonetheless, more protein, canned tuna, tuna in water, oatmeal. I started taking food for the army. So in my backpack, coming back with canned tuna, oatmeal, whole grain cereals, whey protein, whatever I can come with, and like these Nature Valley, whole grain bars, whatever I thought was best then, I took. I was always and still am an omnivore. I'm eating everything. There's nothing that I can't or not allowed to eat. And I'm not saying I will never eat this or that. No. There are the stuff that I know that the more I get, the better for me personally, and especially after this 1 month experimentation. And there are stuff that I try to minimize as much as possible. However, I will not demonize myself if I eat if that will comprise 1% of my diet, because on a Saturday night I ate like 1 cube of chocolate. No, so there are foods that I try to absolutely maximize and foods that I try to absolutely minimize, and I'm an overall lean, strong guy. I was always an omnivore, still am, okay? And I was always about what food can get me leanest, performing best, feeling well, and being extremely more aware of gut digestion in the past 3 years, okay? How consistent am I in the toilets, and okay, how does it run, you know what I mean, okay? And so that's how I think of my diet, based on performance, how I feel, certain blood works, although that is extremely problematic, because if you only judge yourself according to blood work, which is determined by health governing bodies that are not really pushing us toward health and longevity, in my view, as we see more stroke, heart disease, obesity, diabetes going up, and they are the people putting out the information. You have to know about the blood work. How do you really determine what is important and what is not, and what really correlates with better health outcomes? Because it's not necessarily what they say correlates with better health outcomes. That was my standpoint, and eating more back then, it was classic bodybuilding: white rice, whole grain rice, cereals, chicken breast, lots of chicken. If it was red meat, not too much, and try to minimize fat, so not a lot of fat. If I had a steak, I cut all of the fat pieces out. Then paleo was the shit. I was introduced to Rob Wolf, and I started eating paleo style, and that kind of blew my mind. Actually, that was where things started to take off nutritionally. And then I tried keto and the cyclic ketogenic diet. The way that I went about was the anabolic diet by Mauro Di Pascal. And then I went intermittent fasting with the anabolic diet, so up to about even reaching 6-hour eating window, which is fairly narrow, 6 4-hour eating window, experimented with 1 meal a day. Bear in mind, each of the diets that I'm talking about is at least 8 weeks, at least, some of them for multiple years, because you had to do it for a significant period of time in order to show results, in order to tell if it's working or not. Plan the hunt, and then discuss the hunt. You can only discuss the hunt and the results if you tried it and gave it a fair shot. That's the point that people really miss nowadays. They don't give stuff a shot. They discuss the hunt before they went hunting. Okay? And that's a problem. Well, anyway, where was I? I gave each diet a shot. Even 1 meal a day. Ori Hoffelmaker, which is an Israeli guy as well, such as me, and called the warrior diet. That's the type of 1 meal a day that I was doing. Intermittent fasting, and then I'm sort of backed off to what I did for a prolonged period of time, which is Stan Efferding's vertical diet, which is basically, okay, eat a lot of animal sources of protein and nutrients, and combine it with extremely digestible source of carbs so you can perform in your workouts and your daily life and feel well and have good thyroid function and metabolic rate, which is basically white rice, white potatoes, and some sweet potatoes. So he didn't advocate a lot of bread, gluten. So carb sources that are basically, or the majority, non-gluten. Okay, and I play with that, and every time that I wanted to cut, I dialed in my calories, lowered my carbs, and it worked. Okay, now my current diet, okay, because I've been eating more calories and I'm losing body fat, and I can tell you that for certain because I'm filming myself daily, training from different angles. I know how my body looks, and you'll be able to tell and attest yourself looking on Instagram and YouTube videos. I've been eating more calories, surely, okay? More red meat and more eggs. I'm talking about I'm eating 2 pounds of red meat a day and about 6 to 10 eggs a day. Whole eggs, yes, with the yolk, with the cholesterol, with the saturated fats, with the fats, yes. And I was always a meat eater. So since the paleo period, I can say that I was advocating red meat consumption. Never 1 kilogram, 2 pounds of red meat a day, never. Even in my paleo keto days, I wasn't comfortable consuming these amounts. Like, I believed it's a health food, but come on, that's too much, okay? And I believed I was already there as eating a lot of meat and seeing a lot of now people paleo primal style of eating, promoting that, and I said, okay, I'm eating like you do. And I was also eating some, like I said, whole grains, sometimes bread, sometimes pasta, sometimes white rice, a lot of white rice actually, and a lot of vegetables. I still do eat some vegetables, but okay, I'm already doing what you're doing, so I'm there, but it's that 10% going from 1 pound of meat, red meat a day, to 2 pounds of red meat that actually made the difference. I always looked good, but this takes me to the notch that I didn't think that I can maintain because I'm full. I'm actually full and satisfied physically, emotionally, and psychologically. I'm full. I don't feel like I want to binge on anything because I'm actually satisfied. Whereas before I was always an omnivore and advocating meat, but I was also eating a lot of grains, primarily white rice, and you can go back, the ones who know me, I've been eating a lot of white rice vertical diet type. So I was big and strong, but also somewhat fluffy in the meat section, and always had to restrict myself with the carbs, and I felt like I wanted more. So I had to restrict and weigh my white rice consumption, my bread if I ate bread, and so on. So I was never fully satisfied. There was this hunger in me that was going increasingly angrier as I went. And eventually I needed to cut in order to lose that little bit of fluffiness. So comfortably, my body fat percentage is about maybe 15-60%, not extremely lean, especially not as a gymnastic strength calisthenic athlete. And now my body fat is lowering, I'm eating more calories, everything is against what health governing bodies say. I knew I'm a meat eater and advocator, not in a bad way, I'm not shoving it in people's face. Never in a family dinner will I open a nutritional discussion. I will answer and give my observation if someone asked me, okay? Because if they had interest knowing what I do and what I believe, maybe they see me as some sort of a guru in this regard. Anyway, results speak eventually. People show that you're in shape constantly, relatively low body fat percentage, strong, mobile, functioning, you have good vitality and energy. I'm always the one spending time with the kids, playing with the kids, being active cognitively and physically. So they asked because eventually you are the fitness guy, you are the health guy, you are the one in shape for a decade plus. Okay, when everybody's gaining fat year after year, decade after decade. They're declining. I'm still haven't reached my prime because I'm discovering stuff that drastically, meaningfully improve my health and function, and this past month has. So more red meat, about 2 pounds a day, and more whole eggs, about 6 to 10 eggs a day, and fruits. I eat about, let's say, 6 pieces of fruit a day, and raw honey, and raw maple, organic maple, Canadian maple. That's 99% of my diet. That's what I did in the past month, and it's been extremely easy to stick to, simply because I'm physically and emotionally full and satisfied, which is eventually the reason that all people stop dieting, because they are hungry and dissatisfied, either physically and or emotionally. So they binge on whatever they had missing originally in their diet. And I thought about it, you know what? What makes me feel full and satisfied? Eating more meat. I already did back then. What made it now? I have pump. Eating only fruits as carb source and about 100 grams a day. That's it. So how do I feel pumped, sharp, with less carbs than what I had previously? I have about 100 grams of carbs a day right now from honey, fruits, majority is from fruits, and some maple. And I have, I didn't say that, some dairy, cottage cheese or Greek yogurt as a dessert, in addition to the whole eggs and red meat. And then I went to the nutritional value to check for red meat. What does red meat has in nutrients in certain ratios that perhaps 2 pounds of meat achieves that 1 pound of meat or lower than that didn't for me back then. And then you see copper when you eat. So I'm giving you about 2 pounds a meat, 2 pounds per red meat a day amounts of nutrients that if you get 2 pounds of red meat, you will basically eat 100% of the daily needs. Okay? Copper, you will get more than 100% from daily needs. Iron, you reach 100% of iron needs, even more than that. Magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, that's where I still have the pump. I have pump eating red meat. And I was always told that you can't. You have to have some carbs. Selenium, way exceeding 100%. Zinc, way exceeding 100%. Choline is another one that you will get 100% of. Mind you, there's tons of choline in eggs, but just talking about 2 pounds of red meat, way ahead, you're way past 1,000 grams, 1,000%. Which is no problem, by the way, because a lot of vitamins are water soluble. So if you get too much of them, you can just pee them out. Vitamin B6, you get enough of that. Vitamin B5, B3, B2, B1. So a lot of the nutrients you actually don't get enough of just eating 200 grams of meat a day, 300 grams. People that are eat a lot of meat basically mean I eat one meal, medium-sized meal of either chicken, fish, or egg, or meat once a day. That's what people eat, right? They basically nibble around, sort of intermittent fasting throughout the day. I'm talking busy people, maybe high-tech, maybe I don't know, and they eat a big dinner. Usually it includes some form of chicken, meat, fish, and that's like people who eat meat. And that will only be about 200, 300 grams a day. But you don't get stuff like potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, copper, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6. What else? Omega-3, choline. You won't get enough. Selenium, you won't get enough eating just 200, 300 grams a day. So I went from that to 2 pounds a day, and that's really what, fucked my brains up. I'm still astonished. I have pump, I'm full, I'm satisfied. I increase my calories, more fat, more saturated fat. I feel better than any other time. And I was always conscious, especially as time moves on. Nutrition is a big part of my experimentation and my conscious being. I practice nutrition. I value nutrition. And you can talk about what I particularly eat as unhealthy, or what about cholesterol or saturated fat. This is not a video about that. Any one of you should test his beliefs on a daily basis. You should ask yourself, if I'm eating more of that, is it making me feel better or worse? Am I feeling sharper or more dizzy, lousy, sleepy? How is my gut? How is my digestion? How are my toilets? Am I consistent? How many times a day? Because maybe you're making a lot of garbage. Maybe you need to excrete more because there's more garbage in your system. Is it solid? Is it fluid? Is it runny? Okay, because I was always sensitive to that as a kid. How am I performing it in the gym, right? Because I was always dieting on low carb, but as I dieted more and my lower body fat percentage went down, I also ate less carb, and I eventually felt quite rapidly, after the initial month, let's say, a big decrease in performance, how I felt. No pump, not feeling good. So anyone, regardless of the type of foods that I chose to eat, which you might want to try for yourself, that's your choice. You're a grown man or woman. You should ask yourself, am I eating more of that? Is it improving how I feel? Am I feeling full or satiated? Or am I always having this sort of binge feeling that I need to fill out a gap that my original diet does not fill? If you have a diet and you always binge or have to have a refeed or a cheat meal, it means that your diet is lacking in something. Okay? You need to find an answer for that. How is your gut? How is your digestive system? Performance, cognitive sharpness. Are you full, or are you always dissatisfied and hungry, emotionally, physically? Are you going out late at night to snack? You go into the fridge to snack something. You're always waiting for the weekend for that little treat that your diet originally doesn't include. Those are questions that you should ask yourself, because honestly, if something works for you nutritionally, you should be able to eat more of it until reaching satiety and fullness from all aspects, physically, emotionally, and nutritionally. And you simply reach fullness and satisfaction simultaneously, emotionally, physically, and also spiritually. We can say spiritually, but certainly physically and emotionally. When your body's needs are met, you just stop eating. You don't have to count calories or count score. An apple is 1 score, and fish is 3 points. When it works, you don't have to do that, because body and brain function simultaneously and tells you when you've reached fullness and satiety. And this is coming from someone who, whenever he had to lower his body fat percentage, not being as genetically gifted, I guess, for lower body fat percentages, I always had to count calories on my fat loss. I didn't on my maintenance, but I was slowly gaining weight because I had lots of grains, apparently, stuff that I wanted always to eat more of. And the more I ate, let's say I had more grains, I felt less ideal, more drowsy, more sleepy. Yes, so carbs are necessary, but it was like an never-ending battle. I always had to weigh it, to calculate it in order to fit it in a formula that didn't satisfy my needs, emotionally and physically, and you might feel this way as well. Anyway, wow. So this is actually blowing my mind as we speak. This is the peak of my nutrition currently, of all of the past experiences, simply because I'm satisfied from all aspects, at the point that it shows the results in the gym, in the mirror, cognitively. mood. I don't have those bad moods whenever my body fat percentage lowers to around that 10% mark, which I am at definitely right now. I can see and I can feel on my waist, on my clothes, on my jeans. I have the same sort of feeling that I have whenever I'm very, very far towards the end of my cut, which is hard to reach, nonetheless maintain. This feels easily maintainable simply because I'm full, so I'm not fighting any inner desire or craving that my body lacks that is not ideal to thrive. Maybe you have the motivation to stick with this sort of diet whenever you don't have anything stress going on in your life, but I'm a father, 31-year-old, full business. Tel Aviv, Israel is one of the most expensive cities in the world. I have a lot of stress to this household, a lot of responsibilities. I'm a father, full business entrepreneur. I'm training myself and still improving my strength, weighing more than 80 kilograms, 82 kilograms on rings, doing stuff that are perhaps mostly seen 60 kilogram kids doing. I'm doing it as a father, 31 years old, as a father with less than ideal sleep and lots of responsibility and stress. I have a wife, I have a dog, and I'm doing that. It tells me a lot. But today I'm highlighting this diet. Again, my personal experience, you don't have to try it, but if you do, be honest and objective about it and test how you feel and perform and look and physically and cognitively, and be honest about it. And if the results are positive, then ask yourself the questions, okay? Where was my previous diet heading me towards? Am I aging like a fine wine or slowly declining year after year? This actually blew my mind, and you may want to try it or not, but nonetheless, I feel that you should ask yourself these questions about your diet, regardless of what that type of food is for you. Maybe it's lentils for you. Maybe it's fish for you, that type of food that you fish, that feel that the more you eat, the better you feel, and you're more full and satisfied from all aspects, and you look, perform, and feel better. Ask those questions and find those foods, because that's the way to maintain performance, vitality, function, and health for a long, sustainable period of time, even if stress increases, age increases, and whatnot. Thank you. Check the link in the description for online coaching and training program for bodyweight strength, muscle, and size, and skills. The bodyweight tribe link is in the description. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the video, only if you love the video. Please don't if you don't. See you next time.